living the adventure. Axis of Awesome.
Incoming transmission.
What is up, adventurers? Welcome to another Who's in the Shop. Tonight, we were supposed to have Steve Stovall on there. I sent him the link for the stream last night, and I have not heard from him since then, so I hope everything's okay with him. I expected him to try to get on around 6:45 to make sure all his connections and stuff were good, but I have not heard back from him at all. I sent him a message on Facebook, so who the fuck knows? Maybe we'll have a stream tonight. Maybe we won't. That's the most difficult thing about doing streaming for me, and is trying to organize everything and get people on here early to test everything out. I understand everybody's got stuff going on, and I have stuff going on too. But whatever, it is what it is, and here we are tonight. So in the event that Steve doesn't make it on, we're still going to go ahead and do a show. And we'll talk about Super Joe, I guess, tonight. I've got some stuff I want to share with you guys, and we can have a little chat in the comments section, and we'll try to make it work one way or another. But anyways, before we get going, I wanted to talk about the Golden Skull project that we've been working on here over the last several months. I know I debuted it on Paul Knapp's show, and hopefully everybody's working on their Golden Skull projects and photos, because I think it's really going to be a fun thing. So I started shooting mine probably a week or two ago, and it's going pretty well. I'm really happy with the first initial stages of the photo shoot, and I think it's going to be a really cool story. At the same time, I'm also finishing up a bunch of clothing projects for future photo stories, contests, as well as some stuff to send to some guys out there who I really value their friendship, and they're in the Joe community. For one thing, I just got finished up, and I think if you guys follow me on Facebook or Instagram or any of that stuff, I shared this figure today. It's a pretty cool one. My seamstress was making a quilt last year and had this fabric left over. Decided to make a few of these Hawaiian style shirts. I just put a set of knockoff pants and some shoes on him, and kind of created a pretty cool little man of action outfit. And while I was doing the Golden Skull project, I came up with a brand new, like a prelude photo story to put out here sometime in the next few months. And I think it's going to be really, really cool. But yeah, I really love the way this shirt turned out. It's so unique looking. Somebody commented on Facebook that the buttons were too big. Well, actually, if you look at most vintage G.I. Joe clothes, they had bigger buttons. So when we do projects as far as sewing goes, we try to stay as true and inspired to vintage as what we can. I know a lot of people who make the newer stuff try to make it more scalable, but I kind of like the bigger campiness of some of those 1960s and 70s outfits. So that's why the buttons were big. It wasn't a mistake on our part, but I do appreciate the constructive criticism. Tonight we're having a little water via my shrunken head cup. So yeah. Anyway, so I thought it turned out great. Hopefully in the next what's in the shops or Sunday in the shop live stream, we can share a bunch of stuff that I've gotten made. I think it's going to blow all you guys' minds. And I think you guys are going to be really excited to see it. I know there's a lot of not excitement, I guess, right now, considering everything going on around the world. But I'm trying to do my best to create some pretty cool stuff that I think you guys are going to enjoy. Like I said, for you guys let's check out and see who's joined in the chat so far. Moon Doggy, thanks for showing up, my man. Scooter J, always awesome to see you here in Murray, Oregon. Murray, you're awesome. I hope it's starting to warm up there in Canada. For those of you guys who joined in the chat, I was supposed to have Steve Stovall on tonight. I sent him the link for the stream last night, and I've not heard back from him at all. I know he was busy this week. That's why we had to kind of move this to Saturday, but I've not seen him or heard from him since maybe, let's see, April 28th. I asked him if the stream still work for May 10th, and he said, yes, still works. And I sent him the stream last night and not heard back from him at all. So like I said, when I did the intro, we'll go ahead and just maybe talk about Super G.I. Joe tonight, and maybe share some other stuff. We'll try to pull this thing out of the fire, I guess. And hopefully Steve shows up at some point on the stream. If not, that's the way it goes. So I wanted to show this to you guys. I've been working on this project, and you guys are probably all familiar with this. This is the Ideal Toys Night of Darkness figure. I got one of these off of eBay, and it was pretty beat up. And I completely restrung it, and I've got a cool custom project I'm working on right now. I think it's going to be super cool. So I will tell you this, restringing this was a really interesting endeavor. It's real similar to doing a vintage G.I. Joe, but also different. When I first started figuring out how to do this, I almost made it too complicated, and then I had to just put it down, sleep on it, come back to it, and I simplified it and got it to work the way I wanted it to. But I think this is going to be a really cool figure. When I get it done, I'm doing a video of it, and I'm going to do some custom stuff for him. And I think it's going to be a great addition to my Super G.I. Joe universe, which leads us into tonight, which was going to be a discussion on the Adventure Command and the Super Joe universe. And I'll talk about that briefly. I didn't really find out about Super G.I. Joe until probably the late 90s to early 2000s. I had a buyer's guide, and I was looking through that, and I saw these little Super Joe figures, and I was curious as to what it was, and I started kind of researching a little more, and I never really paid a lot of attention to it until a few years ago. And those of you guys who follow the channel for a while now know that I tried and attempted a Super Joe restring, and I cut the hell out of my thumb on that first video, and it was successful, but that's my initial jumping in stage to the Super Joe universe. And I bought a few more figures after that and did a couple more restrings, but I really didn't get into it until they launched the Super Joe Unlimited line of figures, and that would be these right here. This is the one that they made. This is the body with a vintage Super Joe head on it. I followed these guys a lot when they first started the early concept stages of this. And my intention was to just get a body and take that vintage head off one of my others and put it on there, and I did. And my son loves this. I gave it to my son to play with. He plays with this guy all the time. He likes the size and the scale. But they really knocked it out of the park with these figures. I mean, they make so many different variations and clothing designs, as well as a ton of accessories. This is an accessory belt. This is a brand new set of boots. This is a vintage G.I. Joe suit and a vintage head on this figure. But for you guys up there who are familiar with that line, my probably favorite figure is the Mike Power figure. This is my son's. I got it for him a while back. It's a little dirty because it's been out in the yard most of the day. But I really love this Mike Power figure. I think this is one of the cooler concepts to bring Mike Power into the Super Joe Adventure Team, which is probably where he belonged from the start. I love the head sculpt and the concept of that. And it is a super cool figure. I was hoping to ask Steve tonight if White Elephant was going to do any 12-inch bigger versions of this figure's head, because I think it'd be great to have a head of this on a Cotswold Collectibles Cybernetic Explorer body. I think that'd be great. I think these would sell like hotcakes, and a lot of people would buy them and create their own Mike Power version 2.0 figures. Yeah, those are the only two of the I guess are the 1/8 scale. I think they're a shy below 9 inches. I think they're a little bit taller than Amigo, and it's a cool figure. I really love the concept. And going back and researching the Super Joe universe, I think it was just, in my opinion, I've said this a lot on a lot of different live streams, I think it was a lot ahead of its time in a certain way. I often wonder when I look at it how it would have done as an O-ring figure. I think it would have been a lot more successful, but who knows? I would love to still see the line in an O-ring. I'd even like to see Hasbro revive it and do a classified, for a Super 7, do a classified figure of the Super Joe line. But I enjoy it quite a bit. And, you know, my first jumping off point, like I've talked about a lot, is when Felipe brought over Luca Porbenica's super suits to the United States several years ago. And that's kind of when I really started to become interested in the Super Joe universe. When Felipe brought those suits over, I bought 2 suits from him. And those were, I don't know if I have them. I don't have them in the box right now. But the first suit I bought from him, oh, I do actually. The first suit I bought from him was this suit here. This is one from Felipe. This is the very first super suit I bought. And it still has the button up back, like I think the vintage Falcon style had. The ones you get from Sydney at Grunga Toys now, I believe, have a zipper. And they're not nearly as form-fitting, I don't think, as these, but I'm not sure. And then the other suit that I bought was the, I guess, Super Joe, the guy without the beard. I don't know what kind of figure he was, but I bought this suit, those 2 from Felipe before you started selling to Cotswold. And I really started to get into Super Joe after that. I started to build figures. And the first figure that I built, let me pull him out here. The first figure I built was this Super Joe here on a Max Steel Ultra Action body. Now, for those of you guys who aren't familiar, Max Steel was a 1/6 scale line marketed for kids in the 1990s, and it was awesome. It had a lot of really cool accessories. But one of the best things that they did is they created this super articulated body, which is one of my favorite super articulated bodies of anyone. This thing is durable as hell, and it really looks good in those super suits. So I was at my workshop one day, and I was looking around, and my nephews had given me all their old Max Steel figures because they didn't want them anymore. So I had them in a bin of parts, and I always loved to play with those with them, and I always liked to play with that Max Steel body. And I looked at it, and I looked at the neck area right here, and a light bulb went off in my head. And I said, man, this looks a lot like a G.I. Joe muscle body neck post. And I actually removed the Max Steel head, got a G.I. Joe muscle body neck post, mounted it to it with a zip tie, and put a head on there. And that's kind of how my Super Joe figure was born. Now, I think I was the first person, Felipe and I talked about this in December. I think I was the first person to put that head on a Max Steel body. And I did that. I put it on my Facebook, and then later on I changed out the hands. This guy's missing his hands. But and then I started making a ton of Super Joe figures. I think I made a whole team of them. And one of my favorite early photo stories was G.I. Joe versus a Super Gorilla. And it's a Super Joe photo story. If you've not checked it out, it's really fun and entertaining. So when I got those figures, the Max Steel bodies, I had a good run with those. I made a lot of Super GI Joe figures, bought a lot of Super GI Joe suits. I created a lot of cool gear and equipment for them, and I made photo stories. And then, a few years later, Steve Stovall and White Elephant Toys come out with their Super Joe Unlimited line of figures. And when they released the 12-inch head sculpt, which is this one right here, when they released that 12-inch head sculpt, I thought, son of a bitch, I'm going to have to redesign and redo all my Super Joe figures, which I started doing that a few years ago. And I had to create a whole new body because the head's not quite as big as a vintage head. So you have putting it on the Max Steel body is a little difficult because it doesn't have enough volume on the neck to kind of go down over that neck post. So the head tends to bobble around a little bit. I just made one for my son and I did a video. And I think what a guy could do is redesign a brand new 3D printed neck post and overcome some of those challenges to mounting the smaller head to that body. So anyways, like you guys are probably familiar, I created a whole new body for my Super Joe figures, utilizing an old muscle body torso here, and I mounted different arms to it, and then I used the Blue Box Toys legs, and sometimes I use Blue Box Toys arms as well. But I created a whole new Super Joe body. Here's another version of it right here, and started adding those White Elephant Toys Super Joe heads to them, and thus a whole new Super Joe universe was born for me and my customization. And it's really funny if you guys have watched any of our photo stories that Adam at GI Joe The Lost Chronicles has done. By the way, if you guys are not familiar with Adam and GI Joe The Lost Chronicles, definitely check his channel out. Adam and I have collaborated on several photo stories, and he's awesome. But Adam and I got together and decided to do a Super Joe storyline. And if you watch my story, at the end of it, I make a transition from my old style of Super Joe body to the brand new style and reveal my brand new Super Joe Commander. And that's the one I've created. So I tried to do that. I did add the scar to my figure. You guys can see it. I added the scar to mine. The White Elephant Toys bodies don't have the scar, probably because I would imagine they would get into copyright issues with Hasbro, probably. So that is my kind of introduction into Super Joe. And then, I started to kind of look around on that White Elephants Toys website, which is a great website, by the way. And I looked around on there, and they started to release some more and more gear for 1/6 scale, in addition to the massive amount of stuff that they have for their 1/8 scale line. And they have really cool weapons packs. They have really cool different head sculpts. They have like the Combat Joe Takara style head sculpt. They have flocked heads. They have kung fu outfits. And they've also done some special release outfits as well. Ones that look similar to the Logan's Run outfits. And they're really, really cool. I have one for 1/6 scale. One of the cooler things that they're doing as far as White Elephants Toys goes are these new rafts. I wanted to ask Steve about how the raft came to be tonight. I really love this raft. It's a huge raft. I mean, you can see how much it scales to a regular GI Joe. And we're going to be taking this to the beach here probably next month. But there's several different variations of these. I know Cotswold Collectibles carries these as well. But this is a really cool concept. And I really, really enjoy a lot of the stuff that White Elephants Toys is putting out for both the 1/6 and the 1/8 scale. They did showcase, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but they did showcase a few months ago a concept for a 12-inch Super Joe body, which I think is really cool. Again, I would have to probably maybe redesign my whole Super Joe adventure team, but that's a good problem to have. But I don't know where that's at. That's another thing I kind of wanted to ask Steve tonight, is where they're at with that 12-inch body. I don't know if they were going to be crowdfunding that or what. Maybe when the Kentucky GI Joe convention, which I know Steve's a part of, gets here in July, Steve will probably have some, hopefully, more information on those 12-inch bodies. I have a feeling that with the current tariff situation that everybody's talking about, maybe those bodies might be put on the back burner, but we'll have to see. I did like the concept. I don't know if you can find it on. I think you can find it on their Facebook page, maybe. But I do like the concept. But I also would really like to see somebody develop a super articulated muscle body. When I say that, I'd like to see somebody take the muscle body platform, which Hasbro debuted in 1976, I think, and kind of redo it to keep the torso and the waist the same, but kind of give the elbows and the knees a little more articulation. I don't really like, thanks Scooter J, 1975. I don't really like the Guyperman bodies. They look great in outfits, but the ability to pose them is garbage to me. And that's just the truth. I mean, they don't pose as well as a vintage body. They don't have nearly the range of motion. So when you're doing photo stories like I do, you kind of become limited on some of the things you can do because those bodies are super hard to work with. I would love to see, a muscle body that looks like this, that I can get a total, knee bend, or a nice range of motion with the elbows. And I wouldn't mind paying a little more money for something like that. I think as far as paying for stuff goes, I don't mind paying a little more money for things if it suits what I want it to suit. If I'm primarily making photo stories and stuff like that and taking photos. I had Rick Bradshaw on a couple weeks ago, who's a big time photo guy, like Moondoggy is in the comments. And if I'll pay more money if it will, serve the purpose of me going out and be able to put them in cool poses to take the photos for my photo story. So I don't have a problem with that. I know that there's an economic factor in it, like how many you can make and how many you can sell. And I know a lot of people kind of are strapped for cash at some point or another, and they don't want to pay $60 for a GI Joe body. And I get it, but that's why I make my own. I mean, that's kind of why I do a lot of the customization I do, is because the products I need aren't really available to me, so I have to make my own stuff. And I think Murray Corrigan talked about that when he was on my show a while back, when he talked about holsters and not having any, cool, usable holsters. So he started making his own, and lo and behold, he's turned it into a really, really cool thing. And Cotswold Collectibles has his holsters. He makes custom holsters for people, and it's awesome because he turned a need into a passion, and created some really cool stuff. So it'd be great, if somebody would actually do that with the body. And I was gonna ask Steve about that for White Elephant's Toys, if they ever considered kind of retooling those elbows and those knees to kind of give it a little more of an articulation. I think when I looked at that body, it almost looked like a bigger 1/6 scale version of the White Elephant Toys body here. So if you're familiar with these Super Joe style bodies, it looked a lot like that maybe. So that would be neat, but like I said, you're still limited on your articulation. I would just love to see a really cool GI Joe articulated body with a buff one with some muscle, something that can fill out one of these super suits. And I think that would be great. But we'll see. I mean, you can't have everything you want, right? So back to Super Joe and also the Golden Skull. This is kind of where this ties in. One of the giveaways that I'm going to be doing this fall for Super Joe is this figure here. I created this the Super Joe figure. It is it's one of my patented figures that I make. It is a muscle body torso. It has a Blue Box Toys set of super articulated G3 legs. And the arms are actually formative soldiers of the world arms that I 3D printed grommets for that fasten. So he has full articulation. And then I also mounted a set of Cotswold Collectibles gripping hands to him. I put a White Elephant Toys head on him, and I added a scar, and I flocked it black. And then this is a set of G.I. Joe 12-inch boots from that Valor versus Venom line, I think, maybe. And I just painted him with some Wonder Vinyl paint that I had left over from a Shogun Warrior project. And this is what one of the giveaways is going to be for that Golden Skull contest this fall. And I really like the way this guy turned out. He's a super cool figure. So yeah. Now I've done, like I said, I've done some other figures. I think this guy here was the first Super Joe figure that I made for the Luca Porbanicas suits. I'm in the process of redoing him for a future photo story. I think that you guys are going to find really, really cool. And I'm adding, I retrofitted these Damn Toys hand pegs to him. So I can change out hands for him. Now that I have a 3D printer, if I had to do it over again, I just create an insert with a hole that would fit the Damn Toys peg and do that. But I didn't have access to a 3D printer back then. But yeah, this is the first Super Joe figure I ever made, I think, right here. So I stand corrected. This is the very first one. I just threw him together and put him in. I put him in this suit right here. You can go back and probably find pictures I posted of him on Facebook, maybe in some of the groups. And then after that, I'd start making several other figures. I started mounting back when Cotswold carried the Action Man 40th anniversary hands. You could get a ton of these for pretty cheap. I bought a lot of those, and I started mounting those to my Super Joes. But as I get more and more Action Man figures with bad Kung Fu grip hands or gripping hands, I am taking these off, redoing them, and then putting these on the Action Man hands. So I'm cannibalizing everything I have, which is cool. One of the other cool Super Joe inspired figures that I did was this Bruce Lee dragon figure. This is a Grunga Toys head sculpt. It's on a Max Steel Ultra Action body, and it has Cotswold fists. I did this several years ago for a photo story. I had bought the head off Cotswold, and I needed a reason to use it. So I created a photo story, and it's a really cool one if you haven't seen it. But he's a figure in my Super Joe universe, but I don't know what I'm going to do with him right now. I've got a new use for Bruce Lee for another photo story, but it's not going to be Super Joe inspired. But this was cool, and he might actually make an appearance some other time in a cool photo story. But I do like Sydney at Grunga Toys, by the way, is another awesome creator like Stovall and White Elephant Toys, who is making some really cool stuff and really, really driving our hobby right now, which we definitely need. Some of the other super suits that I have, this is one that I bought from Felipe. I don't know if White Elephant Toys has made a reproduction of this for the Super Joe line, but it's this one right here. Unfortunately, the leather has started to peel on this. I need to basically put it in water and get rid of all that faux leather and redo it at some point in time. Not a big issue, but it's something to be aware of when we get products that are faux leather. I'm always apprehensive to buy that type of stuff because it has a shelf life. Um, Anybody who's ever owned one of those faux leather GI Joe bomber jackets, specifically from the Collector Club, those all kind of go to shit. And it's by no fault of anyone's. It's just the way that material kind of operates after a certain amount of time. I had the GI Joe Collector Club Foreign Adventure, the black-haired guy, and he comes with the black bomber jacket. And I got that damn thing out a year or two ago and pulled it out of the package, and that bomber jacket's starting to deteriorate. It just breaks my heart because, I mean, it is what it is, and it's not like I've not stored it properly. It's been stored in a cool, dry place. It's just something with that material that they sourced. It's just not great. So be aware of that if you do buy stuff that's faux leather for your GI Joes. There's probably a good chance that it's going to go south at some point in time. So just be aware of that and accept it, because there's not a lot you can do about it. In fact, I have a really interesting video coming in Japanese July. It's a restoration of a Metacom Real Action Heroes Darth Vader figure from episode, I believe, 4, A New Hope. And it has this problem. The super suit, or the faux leather suit, flaked off. And I came up with a pretty interesting way to fix it, albeit it wasn't, it didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to turn out, but it turned out good enough to where I was happy with it. So, and hopefully when I redo this suit here, it'll be the same thing. Let's hope. But that's just the way it goes. Let's see, another thing with the Super Joe. This is another original suit that I got from Felipe, and I don't know if they've redone this one as well for White Elephant Toys. I know you can find this. You can find it on a vintage figure. I think it's pretty rare, because I think this suit here came on the African American Super Joe figure. He didn't have a beard. He was basically kind of a callback to those early GI Joe African American figures of the 1960s, where they just basically took the GI Joe head sculpt and just dyed it brown. And they did the same thing with the Super Joe line. I believe they just took the Super Joe figure without the beard, like this guy here, and just dyed his skin a dark brown color to create that that African American figure. And they put him in this suit here, which I think is really, really cool. I got this one from Felipe, personally, not Cotswold, and it's a cool suit. I love this suit. I did create an African American figure to go in it, but I actually took him apart to make another figure. I took his head off to make the Sea Adventure for my Jungle of Death photo story. So that was cool. But I plan on making another African American figure for that suit. The hardest part about doing that, I'm hoping that White Elephant Toys eventually makes an African American head, and then I've got to get probably a Guyper Man, or what's the other one? Captain Cosmos black body. And then the hardest part is going to be sourcing what type of arms I'm going to put on it. Blue Box Toys never made their G3 bodies, I believe, in an African American style, but I know that um, Formative Soldiers of the World had several of their super articulated, which are nice bodies, um, in African American. So I'd have to probably get some of those arms, and I would probably just have to live with the either muscle body or Guyper Man body legs, which, you know, it wouldn't be um it wouldn't be that bad of a deal. I mean, I could make that work. So, but I do plan on making a new African American figure, Super Joe figure at some point in time. My goal really is to like kind of be fluid and work with White Elephant Toys, whatever they come out with, barring, there's no catastrophes and they stop making it, but to kind of work with what they come out with and to kind of slowly introduce new members to my Super Joe team and my photo stories. Because I don't know if you guys have figured it out, but I'm running 2 alternate timelines in my photo stories. So um, early on, they kind of weren't that, but as I've done more and figured it out, there's 2 alternate photo stories. There's the GI Joe Adventure Team, and then there's in the future the Super Joe Adventure Team. So I have done that and created 2 separate universes that are tied together. So all my photo stories, probably from, I would say, Footsteps of Giants to now, I've tried to really keep the universe the same and not have any kind of discrepancies in there. So that's the hardest part, is trying to keep track of everything and make sure it all works, together. But I really love Super Joe. I think it's a really cool concept. I think it's neat for the future of GI Joe. I think, like I said, I think it was ahead of its time a little too much. And there was a lot of, nobody goes up against Star Wars and wins back then, especially. But when Super Joe debuted, I think it had a great concept. It seemed probably was thrown together maybe a little too fast. I know Steve's done presentations at past conventions on the history of Super Joe, but like I said, I often wonder how it would have been had it been done as an O-ring 3 3/4 style figure, with big vehicle play sets, kind of like Real American Hero was. And I don't know, it's just so weird. Like from 1975 to 1978, Hasbro seems like they kind of shit the bed on some stuff. They had some really cool concepts, but then they had some stuff that was just like they were throwing it against the wall. Obviously, Bullet Man was weird. The Intruders really never seemed to fit in with the Adventure Team at all. It seems like something that would have been better suited for the Super Joe line of figures. I even feel like Mike Power, even though, we all know the history of Mike Power probably fits in great with the Super Joe line. And White Elephant Toys making this figure, bringing him into the Adventure Command Super Joe Unlimited line, I think it's been a hit. I think he fits in perfectly with those lines, and I think Mike Power is a really cool figure too. I don't necessarily like the original Mike Power a lot. He looks like a Ken doll with a bionic eye. That's why I use the Collector Club version of Mike Power in almost all my photo stories. It's just, you know, putting that my putting that old vintage Mike Power head out there. I just got a hard time looking at it. I have a few Mike Powers, but I just got a hard time looking at it. I think it's cool, but I just prefer to use the Collector Club version for my stuff. But my Mike Powers in the future too. Like I said, my 2 universes are tied together, and he's in my Super Joe universe. So not like this guy here who's in my vintage universe, my Man of Action, my cold-blooded killer, my CIA liaison, my deep. I wouldn't call him a deep state operative. He operates against the deep state. So I do love the Man of Action though. He's a cool figure. Let's see, what else would I like to share with you guys tonight. We've went through a lot of Super Joe stuff and how much I really enjoy doing the Super Joe things. I've shared with you guys my Night of Darkness. I suppose we could look at a few outfits. Maybe I haven't really shared in a lot of detail, but these are ones that we've had done for a while, but they're going to slowly make it into some photo stories. So we'll look at those, and then we'll maybe hit the chat for a little bit, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. I really appreciate everybody sticking with this tonight. Like I said, for anybody who just jumped on the stream, I was supposed to have Steve Stovall on tonight. I sent him a link last night. I didn't hear from him, and I don't know what's going on, but I decided to still do the stream anyway because I blocked out an hour of my time tonight. So I spent an hour hanging out with you guys, and I know a lot of you guys on here I've talked to before. I appreciate it. You guys are all cool, and thanks for being on here. So this is almost turned into like a glorified Sunday in the shop on a Saturday night. Oh, by the way, I appreciate all the feedback from Sunday in the shop live stream. So does my shrunken head. No, I got a lot of good feedback on that. I'm going to try to do most of them live moving forward, but we'll see. It was a lot of fun, man. I've got a lot of cool stuff to share with you guys. I know that it's not easy to do it sometimes here at my house because we have internet issues sometimes. I'm going to be getting some fiber optic internet here soon, so hopefully that will remedy some of my streaming problems. And as I move forward with these live streams, I'm going to probably try to maybe at some point get a little bit better webcam and maybe a microphone setup, but we'll see. I don't know. I like the way I'm doing stuff now. If you guys enjoy it, then there's no harm, no foul. So let's share some of these older outfits I've got tonight with you guys. That'll probably make it into photo stories in the future. So that'll be a good transition into the next Sunday in the shop, which I hopefully will be doing a massive fashion show for you guys. So this is the first outfit I wanted to share with you guys. This is, I believe, a Russian. It looks a lot like a German pattern, but it's a Russian Flecktarn pattern here. This is in my my mom's patented, or my seamstress. My seamstress's patented. We call these Overland Explorer outfits. These are jackets, like almost like an overcoat, with a nice hood. She actually designed this herself. It's got an elastic pull string. It's just a beaded elastic pull string. And then the pants are basically the 21st Century Toys cargo pants from their early sets. I just took a set of those apart and we cannibalized them and recreated. We created patterns and recreated them. So they feature an elastic cuff. We've got the knee pads. You can kind of see those there. And then the pockets. And then the snap waist. So that's what I came up and I called my Overland Explorer outfit. And we've got different variations of this. This is kind of like the base one. I shouldn't say base. We'll call it like super base. The base one will have just a set of just basic elastic waist and elastic cuff pants. It won't have the pockets. This is one I created. I don't know what I'm going to use it for yet, but I really like the pattern of this. So I like it a lot. And then, whatever I buy fat quarters from Spoonflower. So we buy those, and whatever fabric's left over from making whatever outfit we're going to make, she always makes these shirts. So I'll tell you what these shirts are. And this is the same shirt as this in here. It's just a Ken doll shirt that's been slightly modified. And that's all it is. And she'll make these, and they look great. I mean, these look absolutely fantastic on a G.I. Joe, in my opinion, right? I mean, I don't know if you can do it better. Um, so next up, and when I do another thing, when I do the fashion show next week, or maybe hopefully next week, I'm planning on list putting links to all the camouflage on Spoon's flower that I buy personally. So you guys can get on there. And if you know somebody who sews and you like the camouflage, you can buy a fat quarter. That's what I usually do, just buy fat quarters. I think it's 18 by 18. And I get a couple outfits usually out of one of those fat quarters. Um, what I usually do though, I seek out, I seek out unique camouflage designs. So I look for uh, people on there who are artists and have wild camouflage designs, and I reach out to them and usually ask them to do it in 1/6 scale, and they always say yes. And then I send them a picture of whatever we would create, and they're just blown away that somebody would use their camouflage to create what we're creating. So this is one I had, I believe, a gal in maybe China. I love this camouflage. It reminds me of something you'd see in the classic collection. And this is, again, another Overland Explorer outfit, but I don't know what I'm going to use this for, but it's really cool. I thought about a Hollow Earth storyline, but again, the pants, the 21st century style pants. I just love this camouflage. It's just a really cool, unique pattern. If you can see it in person, it really pops big. So, Scooter, is he out of here? All right, dude. Take it easy, man. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see. I think another outfit that we have, and you guys have probably seen this recently on one of my photo stories, was this cool tiger stripe pattern. This was born essentially from me trying to find that old late issue G.I. Joe Defenders style tiger stripe. I tried to find something that looked a lot like it. I couldn't really find anything, but I found this pattern here, reached out to some gal who was by the way, most of the fabric artists on Spoonflower are all women, and they're all extremely nice, and they're all really helpful. So shout out to all you ladies on Spoonflower who are helping me out. But this was a tiger pattern, and I think this turned out absolutely phenomenal. I came up with a photo story for it that I'm in the process of making right now for next year, and I think it's going to be super dope, and I can't wait to share that with you guys as well. And one of the first outfits, or one of the first things I had my seamstress sew was I got on Spoonflower, started looking for camouflage, and we sewed up. This has been in a lot of my photos. It's an Australian SAS camo. There's a name for it. I can't remember what it's called, but we sewed up a lot of these shirts, similar to the duck camo, but it's cool. And let's see. And one of my favorite things that she's sewn for me is Rhodesian brush camo. I've got several of these. They're primarily for my Action Man figures. And this is if you get on Spoonflower and look around, there are a ton of different Rhodesian brushstroke patterns. A lot of people make them. You can find all different styles. But I really like this one. I cannot remember who makes this off the top of my head. I have it saved, but I think this is great. I have an Action Man with this on right now, and he looks phenomenal. It's an Eagle Eye Action Man, not the one I screwed up, but he looks great. And then, we've also done, she'll just do basic solid color stuff, But another project that I'm working on right now, I'll share it with you guys. I know a lot of you guys out there are probably Real American Hero fans, and you're fans of a lot of the characters. I like Recondo quite a bit, and I decided to make myself a Tiger Force Recondo figure, and I'm working on it right now. I'm in the initial stages, but here's the shirt. And then I got this really cool camo for the pants. 21st century style. Super cool. So I got the head from Sydney. He sent me a special head that wasn't flocked. So I can't wait to get that figure done. That's probably going to be this fall when I get to that. I got so much other stuff going on right now that I'm a little behind schedule, but kind of rebounding on a lot of this, and we'll see how all that kind of shapes up. But there's just some basic camouflage that we've got. Next week, though, oh, here's another one. It's that woodland chocolate chip. I love this pattern. I need to figure this out too. I've got some photo stories written, at least dialogue done, that are going to be pretty cool for 2026, and I can't wait to do all those. It's going to be super awesome. So that's about it for that. Let's jump in the comments. I haven't been paying attention. We got some new people that have jumped in. I know, let's see, Scooter J had to bounce. I saw my good bud, Ed. Ed, thanks for rolling up in here, man. He says, don't worry about the cam and the mic too much. You're looking so good. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. Scotty Z70, hey, he's good morning. I wonder what region of the world are you in right now, man? That's awesome. Hope you're drinking coffee. Let's see. Yeah, we got a decent little crowd of guys on here, guys. I really appreciate you guys jumping on. It was fun. I don't know if you guys got any questions out there for me. I don't know. You want to throw anything at me here? We got about another 7 minutes, and we'll wrap it up. But I don't know, man. I had this feeling. I had this feeling about 6:55 when Rick Bradshaw and I did our stream. It got right down the wire. Rick was having issues hooking up his stream. Questions: how do you fix sticky plastic? What kind of sticky plastic? You talk about the plastic that we all have, where it's like been sitting in the box forever and it's got like a film on it. If that's the plastic you're talking about, I usually wash it with Dawn dish soap, actually, with a toothbrush. And it seems to, I saw that on YouTube and it seems to work. I had some Metacom Real Action Hero Gotcha Man figures where their visors were sticky. And I washed it with that Dawn soap a couple times and it seemed to stay not sticky. So you might try that. Hey, thanks, Murray. I could talk forever, buddy. I could talk about all sorts of wild stuff. It's hard. I'll tell you the hardest part about talking for an hour, Murray, is not cussing. That's tough for me. It's hard enough for me to go 30 minutes without swearing, but that's who I am, man. But like I was saying about Rick Bradshaw jumping on, Rick had streaming problems. I was really worried we weren't going to be able to do the stream, but because he got on late, he hit me at the last minute on Messenger, and I was worried we weren't going to be able to do that too. But we did do that, and it was a really good stream. If you guys would check it out, Rick's a cool dude. My other stream with Murray is great. We had a lot of fun doing that, and I hope moving forward, I've got Sean Huckster coming in 2 weeks. So Sean, if you're watching, get on there early so we can figure out any technical issues if you have any. No, Sean wouldn't do me dirty like that. I like Sean a lot. Sean's cool. I can't wait to talk to him. That's probably going to be a really good one, I think. And then Greg Brown and I are going to probably first part of June. Greg and I got together, and I think that's going to be a really fun one too. I really, really feel that that's going to be these next two are going to be bangers, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Ed. I could talk forever about conspiracy theories. I could talk forever about a lot of stuff. Oh man. Yep. Yep. I'm a fascinating person, I think sometimes. And not maybe not in a good way to some people, but I am who I am. I'm uniquely I'm uniquely authentic in my own way. I mean, how many other guys are doing a live stream drinking water out of a shrunken head? A shrunken head cup. Ah, the clear soft plastic. Yeah, I think Scotty Z70. I think if you try washing it with dish soap and a toothbrush, that might uh, that might work. You should definitely try that. But use like a Dawn dish soap. Um, I think that would probably maybe remove that stickiness. But don't quote me on that. It might not. But I know I've got similar stuff that has been sticky that I've taken that stickiness off with Dawn dish soap and a toothbrush. Um, so yeah, moving forward, I think we've got some really cool live streams coming up. And as I get this figured out, um, I've got some really cool guests who I really want to bring on this coming fall. Um, and hopefully I can make that happen. People who I know but I've never really talked to before. I really enjoy doing live streams with people who I don't know, because I think that's part of the fun part about it is you just start talking, and if it's a good conversation, then you're going to find out a lot about each other in a short amount of time, in my opinion. Like you get an hour and a half with somebody that you don't even know, and you start asking them things and starting to bring out who they are and what their interests are, and you don't have to talk about anything related to toys or whatever, just about life in general. And I think like Stacy Armstrong and I had a great conversation. His story about going to the house where his GI Joes were buried multiple times to pay the people to dig up the yard was awesome. I mean, I don't think anybody would have ever known that. Um, but I love talking to people. I love finding out about people. Um, and I'm an extrovert by nature. I'm an extrovert who works in an introvert world. So it's difficult for me on most days because I work around a bunch of nerds that are super introverted, and I'm not like that. So it's kind of like I'm a animal in a cage sometimes. So that's probably why I'm in this hobby so much. I'm just trying to get rid of all my stress and anxiety from being around a bunch of introverts all day. Um, but I don't know, my wife's introverted, so that's why we get along so well. Um, but anyways, guys, this has been awesome. I appreciate all you guys jumping on. I love it. I wish we could have had our guest on tonight. It's too bad we didn't. Hopefully, Steve, I can get a hold of him and find out what happened, and maybe we can try to make that work some other time. But it's disappointing. I know. I was really looking forward to talking to Steve. I had a lot of questions about Super Joe and the direction of what they want to go and projects they want to work on and what inspires him and all this stuff. And I'm just sorry that we couldn't make it happen tonight, guys. But like I always say, gunfighters get shot, and sometimes you get shot. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to the actions. Oh, we got one more question. What is the official name for the 1999 Joe hands or triggered? Those are gung ho grip. Gung ho grips. I don't have any handy. I do. Hold on. Oh, nope. No, I don't. I thought I did. That's not a gung ho grip. Gung ho grip. Yep, those are the ones. So, anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys jumping on. Awesome. Shout out to the Acts of Awesome. Shout out to Paul Knapp. Paul just jumped on. You got a great channel, Paul. I love it every week. You do 2 shows. I don't know how you do it. And you guys keep kicking ass and keep living the adventure, guys. And